And so the debate over whether or not we should or will retaliate against Syria is raging in Washington. Today, both Secretary of State John Kerry and Secretary of Defense Chuck Hagel tried to sway the Senate Foreign Relations Committee on airstrikes. There's obviously no easy answers, so we brought together both sides to lay out the case both for and against an attack on Syria. Joining me now, Dr. Zuhdi Jasser, author of A Battle for the Soul of Islam. We also have Lisa Daftari, counter-terror analyst, Middle East expert, and Fox News contributor. Thanks to both of you. Zuhdi, I'm going to let you go first. You've been very passionate on this show, and I know you have family on the ground in Syria. So tell me, what is the case for the U.S. going in?
The case for the going in, Melissa, is the fact that 29 months have shown what the case for not going in does. It empowers basically carpet bombing of neighborhoods in Syria, empowers the emboldenment of a proxy war for Iran, empowers the building. Now, 2 weeks ago, Iran has 1,000 new centrifuges that it's spinning. And I can tell you, coming from a family that's fought this regime for 50 years, you don't fight Arab thugs by appeasement. You fight them with containment, you fight them with force, and we can do this right. We've been asleep, and now finally the president is waking up. I don't think an answer to the fact that we're finally waking up is, well, it's too late. We might as well just sort of let Syria devolve, because, Melissa, if it devolves, next is Israel, next is our regional interests, and inaction is really the worst option.
Okay, Lisa, what's your response to that?
I agree with so many of the things that Zuhdi is saying in terms of what's going on the ground in Syria, in terms of the last 29 months showing us why we haven't gone in, but showing us why we still should not go in. And the use of chemical weapons, it is punishable. It's an awful thing. They crossed many lines. But should we now go in and cause the punishment to be upon us and our interests? The Syrian people are fighting their regime, and this regime maybe should be removed. Maybe they should be punished. But should we remove them at the cost of replacing them with al-Qaeda? Did we not learn our lesson with Egypt's Arab Spring and the Muslim Brotherhood taking over? I mean, I agree with so many of the elements that are in place. The emboldenment of Hezbollah, of the Iranian regime, of all those that are propping the Assad regime, why would they not now retaliate more? Why would they not become more reinvigorated to retaliate against us? They've come out and said that they would come against us.
Zuhdi, go ahead, respond to that.
But Lisa, you're basically giving the far left's argument that it's a post-American world. We've basically become impotent, and we've let negotiation towards terrorists, let them put us at our knees and at fear, and let that vacuum in the Middle East get filled by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Iran, and Hezbollah's hegemony into the region. And by the way, to characterize the majority of the Syrian uprising as being al-Qaeda is just bad intelligence and flat out wrong. Certainly al-Nusra Front is a major threat.
You're misunderstanding.
Hang on.
You're misunderstanding.
Let him finish, and then you can go. Go ahead, Zuhdi.
Certainly al-Nusra Front is a major threat and have been more and more in control, but the majority of Syrians are not al-Qaeda. These are moderate Muslims and Christians and Alawites and others that are trying to get their voices heard and have been demolished by two forces that are destroying the country.
Lisa, go ahead.
And it would be a beautiful world if those Syrian genuine opposition members actually had their voices heard and actually were running the opposition forces that are on the ground. These are a majority of al-Qaeda and other extremist groups, and you know that as well as I do. And I really do respect your opinions and those of your family members. But what I'm saying, and you're, I think, misunderstanding me, I'm saying this is not a solution that will answer the needs of the Syrian people and the U.S. and our interests and our ally Israel. I'm saying this is a bad solution, and I'm not saying that there should be no solution. I'm just saying that targeted strikes. Imagine if they came to us and said, we're just, the Syrian regime or whatever regime is only going to have limited and targeted strikes on the Pentagon. That's all.
Well, Zuhdi, let me ask you, because this is one of the main problems, and KT McFarland was talking about this earlier. If our goal is to go in and take out their chemical weapons, or to make them so that they're not usable in the future, or get them away from them so that they're not then shared throughout the Middle East with other regimes that are also not our friends, how do we do that? I mean, that seems like a really tough task.
Well, there's no doubt that we have strategic interest on the ground, but this can be done without boots on the ground through our intelligence connections. There are in the South especially non-Islamist groups that we're working with, especially in the Free Syria Army, and we can mobilize. I mean, by the way, if we're going to protect them, the best way to do it is through engagement, through military strikes against the airfields, runways, against military assets. If we're not involved, I think those chemical depots will prove to be mobilized, weaponized, and be more at risk. So I would defy defy any military strategist to tell me that it's less safe by us being involved versus actually trying to put an end to this.
Zuhdi, you make a great case, so I'm going to let Lisa make the last point real quick before we go. Go ahead, Lisa.
But when the president and Secretary Kerry are already saying that this is not about regime change, this is not about boots on the ground, this is only about targeted strikes, this is not a long-lasting solution to the Syria problem. What's going to happen hours, days, years even after these strikes? This is not a solution for the Syrian people. We already have 2 million refugees leaving. There's going to be more refugees leaving Syria because it's not going to be a stable and secure place to live. We're not going to be able to get these extremist elements. If in a perfect world we were able to do that, then these strikes would be the right answer. But if unfortunately this won't be the way to do it.
You both make such compelling arguments for both sides, and that's why this is such a problem and such a hard decision. Thanks to both of you for coming on. We appreciate it.
Thanks, Melissa.